Hello everyone, it's Theme Park Avenue. I am Eric, back with a brand new tier list video. Here, since I've now visited every Cedar Fair park in the US besides Gilroy Gardens, which doesn't count and I won't be talking about here, so we're going to do a tier list of every Cedar Fair park. There's 11 to get through, and before we begin, I encourage you to, after this video, check out my Cedar Fair ranking. I visited all the parks and give some more detailed thoughts on each that'd be a bit more useful if you're planning a trip or want to know more about every individual ride. But with all that out of the way, let's begin. So first off, we have Canada's Wonderland, and I'm definitely thinking an A tier for this one right off the bat. I think it's a fantastic park. You have a strong roller coaster collection with plenty of overhated attractions. Then you have the best flat ride collection for sure in the chain, plenty of good family rides, a wonderful appearance with the best centerpiece in the entire chain, and so much more. It can get crowded, and when it's crowded it's not as ideal to go. But at its best, it is one of the best amusement parks out there. It's always a blast, as long as you can get in a good amount of stuff, and I think it's a pretty hard one to beat. It isn't the best in the chain, there's some fantastic parks that even beat this one, but I do think this park is a bit overhated in the community in terms of the roller coaster enthusiasts and similar, but I don't think it's a particularly unpopular take to have it pretty high up on the list. Now we have Michigan's Adventure, another fairly popular take. I'm putting this one in D tier. It is my least favorite Cedar Fair park right off the bat. There is some merit for sure. Shivering Timbers is a fantastic number 1, and there is plenty to enjoy. It's just, a lot of the park is kind of poorly managed. A lot of the areas don't look particularly nice compared to other Cedar Fair parks, and the lack of shade can be quite a bummer on hot days. The operations are the weakest in the chain, especially with a few specific rides, and while there is a bit I enjoyed and I overall had some fun at the park, it was my least favorite experience, and in hindsight, definitely among my least favorite park experiences I've really had. Moving on, now we have Carowinds. Carowinds is going to be A tier. I'll put it above Canada's Wonderland. It is an excellent park. You have the fantastic top 5 of Fury 325, Intimidator, Copperhead Strike, Afterburn, and Nighthawk. That's pretty hard to beat. It is the third best of the top 5s in the chain, and beyond that you have a very solid collection of rides, a fairly unbeatable atmosphere quite frankly. I very much love the way the park looks and feels as you're walking around. The food is good. It does feel like something you'd see in the Carolinas, so they do a very good job sticking with the loose but fun gimmick of Carolina border, so having the North and South Carolina theme, and it's definitely among the best parks. Now we have Kings Island. Kings Island is going to go in S tier for sure. It is one of my favorite amusement parks, possibly favorite, in the entire world. I'll get to that a little later. I have not been to every park of course, but of what I've been to, it's hard to beat the insane roller coaster lineup. Some say the park lacks a standout ride, but for me, Mystic Timbers definitely fills that gap. It is one of the best wooden coasters out there for sure, and it is top 2 in the Cedar Fair chain for wooden coasters. Beyond that, you have the best operations, the best layout, a strong appearance, second best roller coaster lineup, and so much more. It is a thoroughly enjoyable experience every time I go, and even when there's breakdowns or long lines, there's still so much to enjoy in the park that I don't mind missing out on 1 or 2 great rides. Definitely earn that S tier spot. Now we have Worlds of Fun. A tough one for sure, because the rides and atmosphere and appearance, those could be B tier Cedar Fair. But I think the operations are closer to D tier. I'll put it in C overall. The best stuff is hard to beat. Prowler, Mamba, Patriot is a fantastic top 3. Very hard to beat. And then you have the very nice but somewhat loose theme of traveling the world, and I think it's one of the nicest looking Cedar Fair parks as a result. Unfortunately, the several ride closures and long lines with poor capacity attractions did hinder my experience a good bit. So while I like the park a lot, it's not as enjoyable as the stuff I'll be putting in B tier, but it's pretty close in quite a few regards. Now for the King, Cedar Point. This is going in S tier. Currently, I think I sit it below Kings Island. It's very hard to say. The roller coasters are absolutely unbeatable at this park. Best for sure. You have the most rides of any park in the world, so there's going to be something for everyone. The park looks wonderful, from location, to the roller coaster appearances, to the great area Frontier Town. It's very hard to beat. I don't know what to say. There are operation issues most recently, unfortunately, and the lines are especially long and difficult to get around, and I do think that hinders the experience a good bit, as it's now quite hard to avoid those crowds, unless you're a local, which I'm not. At its best, Cedar Point wins this whole thing. Currently, I sit at a bit below Kings Island based on my most recent experiences, but these two are so close and my two favorite parks in the world at this point, so they definitely take the S tier above the rest of Cedar Fair's catalog, even if I do struggle to say which one's really better than the other overall. Now, California's Great America. This I'll be putting a tier above Worlds of Fun for a nice solid B tier. It's a very good park. Railblazer is a very, very strong number 1. And you have plenty of other good rides beyond that. There are some noteworthy flat rides, such as the Drop Tower. The other roller coasters are quite good. The park is very lively, and it looks solid, far from the best looking Cedar Fair park, but it still looks good. And the operations overall were strong. I don't think it is a standout Cedar Fair park by any means. It is still somewhat quaint compared to a few others, but it's grand enough, and has enough very strong rides, that I would say B tier is deserved. Now, Dorney Park. I thoroughly enjoyed my time in Dorney. It's a very charming one. There's a few great roller coasters, but none of them truly are at the same level as any other Cedar Fair park, honestly. The number 1 here for me is Talon, and Talon is the weakest of the number 1s in the chain. I'll put it in C tier for having a great charm, the unbeatable demon drop, and even if the roller coaster collection is D tier, mostly overall it might be C tier, but it's pretty close to Michigan's Adventure because it doesn't have the great standout ride. But it's still a very nice park, and I enjoyed my time there. Gilroy Gardens, we'll just put that there. I know I said we wouldn't rank it, but it's too good not to rank, really. I've never been there, but S tier seems obvious. Now we have King's Dominion. King's Dominion, I think many would put in that A tier with these other parks, and maybe not, which I'll get to soon. For me, it has its good rides. There's an abundance of great ones. Dominator is a super underrated fun ride, and then the very acclaimed top 2, Intimidator 305, and Twisted Timbers. You have plenty of roller coasters. I don't think it's really the best lineup though. The park is one of the weakest in appearance, and operations are quite inconsistent. I just feel like the park is a bit too big for its own good, where it's the same size as something like Kings Island or Cedar Point, or it feels that way anyway. But it's very spread out and empty in a lot of areas, and it just needs more to fill that space. So for now, it's B tier. Above California's Great America for sure, but it's not really on the same level as these parks. And now we have Knott's Berry Farm. Knott's Berry Farm, I think it's definitely between King's Dominion and Canada's Wonderland, and while the roller coaster collection definitely would be B tier, the operations would be B or C tier, the appearance and non-roller coasters elevate this to a very strong A tier. It's not as good as these because I prefer major thrilling roller coasters, and Canada's Wonderland and Carowinds do that better, but Knott's has plenty to love. The food is the best, the operations do hold it back a bit, but there's plenty of great rides, the best dark rides and water rides in the chain. Certainly a lot to enjoy here, but it isn't quite above these. But A tier is nothing to scoff at. In fact, C tier isn't really anything to scoff at. And now for Valleyfair, the final one. It has a few great rides. Renegade, Wild Thing, and Steel Venom make up a very solid top 3. And the other roller coasters are not bad. The operations are way up there, the park looks nice and lively, though I do still think it's kind of a low tier Cedar Fair park, and I put it here. I enjoyed my time there a lot. Frankly, these 11 parks, 10, I'm just kidding with Gilroy Gardens, but 10 of the 11 Cedar Fair parks I've been to that count, I love them. I enjoy my time at a lot of them, and I do recommend visiting them if you get the chance. Michigan's Adventure might be worth visiting in some circumstances, but Cedar Fair is a very great chain, and it seems to manage most of its parks quite well, and even those where it doesn't, it has a few very strong rides. So overall, Cedar Fair is a great chain, and this is how the list panned out. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below your favorite Cedar Fair parks or your list in general. Subscribe for more theme park content. I'll see you next time.